16 of the world's greatest players are all competing for a piece of a $2.2 million prize pool. It can only be the Party Poker Premier League Poker 5. This season, 16 players are divided into two groups of 8. Group A sees Tony G, Luke Schwartz, Phil Laak, Andy Frankenberger, Erik Seidel, Eugene Katchalov, Sam Trickett, and global qualifier Mathew Frankland. And Group B is made up of Tom Dwan, Jungleman, Patrick Antonius, Vanessa Selbst, Yevgeny Timoshenko, Elke, Scott Seaver, and our second global qualifier, Benjamin Wilanovsky. Both groups will play 4 matches each where they will accumulate points. The winner of each match will receive 16 points, the runner-up will get 11, then it's 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, and 0 points for coming last. After all matches have played out, the top 3 players in each group will go through to the final table. Those in 4th and 5th place in both groups will play heads-up to determine who takes the last 2 spots at the final. The players in 6th, 7th, and 8th positions will be knocked out. So far, Group A and B have both played 3 matches each, and this is what happened.
Group A arrived at the casino in high spirits, ready for Season 5 to get underway.
Tony, Phil, I have no idea what you're thinking.
Are you outplaying me, or did you wake up with a hand? Okay, so it's a little outplay time. All right, good. You are the best, Tony G. You're in my head and I'm not even in it.
I'm just the worst.
That was a sick ride. Wow, I never expected to win it. That was sick.
I got the bagel last time, so I have to get some chips.
I'm basically out of the Premier League, down to my last animals.
This is a standard fold. Phil has lost his mind.
We understand that you're not very good, but you're a nice guy.
Yeah! Date with an 8. Ace King, you're good, you're good. You've got the best hand, whatever happens. Anyway, it's good to have you back. That's a big, nice putt for you, nice lift.
So sick.
You didn't have the heart, I told you, you're missing the heart.
This is where I test my luck.
Oh, what a shot.
Sick. What are these hands? I'm looking at.
Here's the Group A league standings after 3 matches. It's a barn burner, so tight top to bottom. The top 3 after the next match going straight to the final table, and G in pole position on 26, Trickett and Frankland just behind them. The playoff zone, 4th and 5th after the next match, will play off for that final seat on the final table. Laak on 23, Seidel on 21. And in the elimination zone, Frankenberger still in touch with 17, but for Katchalov and Schwartz, their future mathematically will rest on their ability to win that last match. Group B's matches were full of drama. It has already been a roller coaster ride for some of our Premier League players.
That's not a good start.
1,000 at a time.
Yep.
Grinding it up.
You gotta stand up for yourself, you know, in this world.
That's the way to do it.
Seriously, you playing this sit and go forever?
I'm so bad at folding.
It's nothing quite like having the second nuts.
I slept chips? Chip. 8 chip? It hurt you too much to fold the small blind to me 3 times in a row.
Good news.
Kid does it again. Nice hands, guys.
Jesus. I laid the trap.
I think I'm trapping you.
I got reverse trapped.
Game.
Serious times, serious measures.
It's not a card, just complicates things.
Just trying to get all the chips.
It sucks so bad.
Who knows what I think sometimes?
Butchered this hand really bad.
So sick, so brutal.
Yep.
Here's how Group B stands after 3 matches. Scott Seaver has done so well to get himself into first position. Patrick Antonius' grinding style works for the top 2, and Yevgeny Timoshenko solidifies that final table grouping. In the playoff zone, Jungleman 22 points, and for Tom Dwan up to 20 and looking in good shape. In the elimination zone, it's Elke on 16, Vanessa Selbst on 12, and Ben Wilanovsky now mathematically out of the Premier League with only 2 points.
Group A's last heat is about to get underway, and the league is wide open. Any of our 8 players could still make it through to the final table. Let's go over to your commentators, Jessie May and Mike Sexton.
This is the day we've been waiting for. It's the final heat match for Group A in Premier League Poker 5. Who better to be watching it with than Poker Hall of Famer and legend Mike Sexton? Now, Mike, you know a lot about the Premier League. You're involved in Premier League Poker 4. This format is so unique, and the strategy really comes into play in the last match.
Well, you're right, Jesse. In fact, strategy trumps good play on occasion in these final tables. For example, a certain player may have to knock another player out first at this final table if he has any chance to advance. We actually have that scenario going to happen at this final table, but it's so unique in that all 8 of these players have a chance to go through to the final.
That's never happened before in Premier League history when everyone still has a chance, but we're going to see 3 players eliminated today for sure from the competition. Now, when you look at this Group A, who do you like? Who excites you as far as getting to watch them play?
Well, certainly such talent at this table in this Premier League. It's unbelievable. Erik Seidel, of course, the all-time money leader in poker history. He's a little bit up against it today, as you know. But to me, I really enjoy watching a guy named Sam Trickett. I think he's proved himself over the last year or so to have uncanny talents in the poker world, and I actually predicted he'd win this event, so let's see what happens. But anytime you have a Tony G or a Luke Schwartz on the table where the verbal dialogue is such fun to watch, you know, all that is really exciting to watch.
Let's get right into it and see who will thrive from Group A.
Tony G is at the top of the league for his heat and apparently playing the best poker of your life, I hear. How are you feeling?
Feeling great, but it's all down to today to make the final, so there's a long way to go. But feeling great and really excited to be in such a good position with so little to go.
Well, you've certainly made the final before. I mean, twice, second and third here in the Premier League. So anything to prove taking it all the way?
Obviously, I want to prove to myself and to everyone that I could be the Premier League champion. And it's the most prestigious event in the world, and I'm looking forward to taking it.
All right, well, good luck out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
With 9 points, this is a crucial match for Eugene. How much is that going to play into your strategy, the need to ladder up above certain people in particular?
I mean, today probably won't look like normal poker to most people. It's going to be a weird game. I know I have to get first, and certain people maybe not to get close, but I'm just worried about me getting first and getting as many chips as I can before that. And I know no one wants to go out last or previous to last except me or Luke, because we just don't really care. So it'll be interesting.
It will, and I'm dying to ask you how it's going to be different, but I know that you're not going to tell me. So what would you expect out of the other players in terms of differences in their play to what they might normally do?
I expect most people playing super, super tight, just basically waiting for someone and hoping for someone to go bust. I expect me and Luke, maybe Andy, playing the most hands.
It'll be fun to watch. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
You shouldn't test my ego.
He'd rather not make it than play a hand.
Real nice.
Oh my God. You can't say anything. Don't answer his question.
I'm not going to listen to Tony anyway. He clearly has no idea what he's doing.
Come on, let's go!
So many combinations, so many permutations, Mike. What we know for sure is it's very tight, and everyone's going to have to come up with a strategy to get through.
Well, the strategy for most of them is going to be play very tight early on because nobody can afford to go out first or second.
Have a look at this. Eugene Katchalov has open shoved, I believe, all in the very first hand with the deuce 5.
You missed it all in, guys.
That's, I mean, that's an extreme but a strong statement.
Well, he understands that he's got to win the heat, A, and B, that nobody's going to be playing a pot.
I didn't know what the first one meant.
And the truth is, it may be correct to throw aces away in certain situations in this heat. I mean, it's not going to be standard poker like you're used to seeing. That's what makes this fun and exciting, because strategy dictates a lot in terms of the way these guys are going to play.
I mean, people are laughing and stuff like that. I think it's a brilliant strategy when you think about it with Eugene Katchalov. He doesn't want to be in a spot where he loses some chips early. The chance of doubling up is massive, and the advantage for him doubling up is huge.
Well, again, he has gone all in back-to-back pots. Eugene Katchalov. This time he does have 2 7s.
Yeah, you showed the 2-5.
And who can call him? Nobody can call him. Perhaps Luke Schwartz. Luke Schwartz can't call him either, Mike, because for Luke Schwartz, not only does he have to win, but he has to see Erik Seidel go out first. So for Luke Schwartz, knocking out Katchalov would also be knocking himself out of the tournament.
No. If your mission is to make it to the final, which it should be, where the $500,000 first prize is up for grabs, then obviously Luke should fold 2 aces to anybody at the table other than Erik Seidel, and whatever he has, if Erik comes into a pot, he is going to play. Whether it's a 4-7 offsuit, it doesn't matter. Luke will be going after Erik if he gets an opportunity.
This is the most amazing thing. This is the third hand in a row now that Katchalov has open raised all in. And you just start to think, Mike, how long can this go on? Perpetually forever?
Well, that's a good question. Theoretically, whoever started with a big blind to be the first one out. The way things are going now.
What's the tightest hand someone's folded yet? I folded King Jack.
King 9.
7, 8 of spades. King Jack suited.
So no one's folded an
King
ace.
Jack suited, there you go.
King 9 of spades.
Eric's not saying anything with queens, he's like.
Let me take this even a step farther, Mike. When you start to think about candidates that might take on Katchalov and who is harmed the most by Katchalov actually winning here, that's Erik Seidel on 21 points and Andy Frankenberger. These are the two guys who right now, in my mind, are thinking to themselves, this could be bad.
Yeah, they'll figure it out shortly, and they are the guys who are going to have to put up the stop sign, in my opinion, for Eugene Katchalov.
But how? Katchalov's laughing.
No one's going to play a hand. We might as well just give him the blinds.
No, if he goes all in.
Like, how much is like 60?
I disagree.
90, that's
21 times.
It's going to be a three-way hand, yeah.
We just give him 300, we just give him whatever, 50,000 each.
Stupidest thing ever.
And we play it 3, 6, 4, 8, 5, 10. We give him 50 each.
But the best
And you keep doing it. Like that, you're a free roll.
I'm screwed then. I might as well just call Eugene off with King High.
Tony G. Folding an ace-king here.
Since he's never going to bust.
It just shows you how much strategy is going to dictate what happens
really
here.
Can't play a hand.
You're going to have to let
So
Eugene
I have
get
to call. If I call,
Because
and then double through him.
if this just goes on and on,
I don't even know my situation is.
I think Phil Laak hasn't even looked at his hand the last 2 or 3 times. He just folded automatically.
I had ace king.
Good fold.
and, you know, obviously everybody saying to themselves, well, let somebody else do it, let somebody else do it. But I wonder at what point we're going to get to a spot where Eugene Katchalov has about 2.2 million and everyone else has 50,000, Mike. Do you see anything preventing that?
Eric's folding every
Well, I do. I think somebody's going to pick up 2 aces and say, I can't let this guy just have every pot, you know, and they're going to gamble. Remember, they get money, cash money. You know, for the 16 points, it's worth $2,000 a point in terms of real money, but obviously the big money is winning the $500,000 overall, and you have to get to the final to do that.
That's true, Mike. Also, with points converted to chips for the final, getting those extra 16 points, it'll mean a big chip lead at the final table.
You should just raise next time. No, you can take a flop. Make it 150.
No, make it like 250. Peel it off with the kings, make sure. 260 is the bet. No,
So I can set mine in.
Can you just not raise this one because it's Eric's blind?
It's amazing stuff. Tony G actually, Mike, came in this morning and said that he was the only one guaranteed to make the final, and the players explained to him that if he gets knocked out first, not only is he not guaranteed, but he suddenly becomes nearly unlikely, you know, depending on how things go, and he was a bit shocked to hear that.
Yeah, he was disappointed to hear that for sure.
Are you cool with aces if I jam now?
He's not going to call.
He's not gonna.
Come on, let's not waste time so we can get to
You
the
know,
next level.
Luke Schwartz is trying to figure out how he's gonna make this work. If he puts money in, Katchalov's just gonna shove on him.
I swear that. Like, people have a bit. People have. They're not saying anything. Would you fold?
Tony G just picking up the 2 9s, and Erik Seidel's called him. Erik Seidel is the guy who's called him.
With the 10-9 off, he would have called with aces. So sick. It's my only chance. I knew I had to jam there.
You don't need to knock just in case.
Oh yeah, no,
You're always supposed to limp.
Limp minimum.
Luke, this is like your one hope that I win. You are doing as hard as you can. What did you have?
You still don't have chips, though.
I had 10-9.
Seidel knew what he was waiting for. He's found it. This could be the big break in the Premier League. 15% for Katchalov.
Well, Luke Schwartz is the one that can't believe it. He has to knock Erik Seidel out first, so he's pulling for the Queen 6 here.
Not a good flop. You're right. Schwartz has a huge
No, you can't.
Huge uplift if Seidel gets knocked out. It's got to be a club, I think. 8 of clubs, perhaps.
You should have protected your stack away.
Be the best card.
I think the correct play is limp, and then if this happens.
Come on, 6 queen for a shot in life.
And that gives outs to Eugene Katchalov.
Queen or a 6.
Yeah, but he's still sitting down. He was playing. How can you lose?
Wow.
Not to be. Katchalov's actually still going to be in, but for Erik Seidel, he was willing to put his Premier League on the line with 2 aces, and I guess it had to all fall perfect. It was a bold strategy that Eugene Katchalov was trying to execute. I think when you think about it, it was the right one, Mike.
It's 100% the right strategy, and he just got very unlucky, honestly, that a player picked up aces or kings. I'm not even sure a guy was calling the kings in that situation.
I think you're right. Also, I'm not sure if Tony G would have called with aces or Sam Trickett. Seidel had a lot more reasons to, being the guy currently in 5th position. And for guys like Andy Frankenberger, seeing Seidel get that big stack is going to be trouble as well. This is a critical stage of Premier League, and players are constantly reviewing their league standings and assessing how they can progress to that final table.
The first 2 heats went very badly. Cave got last and 6th or something like that, and in the 3rd heat I came 7th. So today I'm going to need more than a miracle to go through. I have to basically knock out Seidel in last place, and Frankenberger, he has to come in the next bottom 3 spots and then have to win. Then I can go into the playoffs.
Luke needs to knock me out specifically and then win the heat to have a chance to get into the final, which is kind of a funny situation. So he's going to have to try and focus on me. But, you know, I don't really need to worry about that. I'm just worried about advancing myself.
My strategy will become increasingly complicated as people get knocked out. But again, if I can just put myself in a position to make a deep run, I've got a good shot at this.
I'm pleased with my performance so far, but I'd like to go one step further, so hopefully we can get some good points today.
Everyone's got to win today. Like, I'm currently in 2nd position and I can still not qualify, so should add an extra bit of pressure to today's heat, and I'm looking forward to it.
I'm in a fortunate situation in that no one is safe at this point, so and I still have a shot. I think I have to just win. So I guess I'll be doing whatever I have to do to win.
The gravitas of the situation it's massive. There's a ton of prize money at the next table. The max you can make here is 32. You can make 500 at the next table.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be tough. I love it. I love these sort of heats. I love this sort of poker. It's going to be a lot of stress, a lot of excitement, a lot of maneuvers. Players need to do certain things to make things work. They all know what they need to do, and I know what I need to do.
We return to Vienna after the break.
Welcome back to Season 5 of Premier League Poker from the Austrian city Vienna. Group A's last league match is underway and the league is wide open. Any of the 8 players can still make it through to the final table. Let's get back to the action.
Talk about drama. And Katchalov may be knocking himself and Luke Schwartz out of the Premier League in the very next hand.
Anymore. Yeah.
Fortunately, I have to look at my hand. Picking up right where I left off.
Luke's trying to figure out what his strategy is. He's gone from being a huge underdog to basically I think the biggest underdog in the world.
Well, the truth is, he has to not quite break someone else and double up to get enough chips as Erik and then try to bust Erik, but
He deserved that.
Yeah, his odds are almost insurmountable now, though, in my opinion, for everything to fall into place for him.
But I mean, for Sam Trickett, moving all in there would have been an interesting play as well, because Luke really couldn't call him. Have a look at the league standings here. You can see Katchalov needed those 16 points. and Seidel had the reason to call him being on that bubble, Mike, for the playoffs. But now that Seidel has got some chips, he can start thinking about trying to grab the top 3.
They shouldn't even call me. I mean, you shouldn't even call me with aces.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should. Eric's too.
Eric shouldn't have called you. I know. He's too rich. He's the player that shouldn't have called you.
But he did. Now he proved everyone wrong.
I would steal 60.
Katchalov saying he doesn't think it was a correct call for Erik. I actually disagree with that, Mike. But I'm not sure. Do you think Erik was supposed to call there as well?
I do. I do think he was supposed to call, because otherwise Katchalov could continue to raise and nobody would play a pot. At some point, somebody would have to play one. And as you said, he has that 21 points, which is the borderline, meaning he's got to pick up some points to advance, but you can't sit there and just go out.
Right, and let's not forget, even though being in the top 5 guarantees you a playoff seat, that's not what these guys want. They would far prefer to stay out of the heads-up playoffs and get in the top 3.
Jesse, I'll be honest. I truthfully don't think anybody would have played a pot against Katchalov for quite a while unless they would have picked up specifically 2 aces. Amazing. I don't think they would have called the kings.
Amazing.
Yeah, and he needs like top 3, don't you? So,
Katchalov has now moved all in. He's only got 24,000.
I hope I got a bad
well, it would have been fun to have seen how long it could go. It did feel, Mike, like it could have gone for 50 hands.
Well, the question is, Jesse, should Luke Schwartz play the hand, then muck his hand?
Try and double him up.
Eugene, you can just raise 15K if you want next time. I'll call and fold on the flop.
Can't say that. Can't say that. You should call and you should bet.
I mean, the proper strategy for Katchalov is not to move all in, is to save 1 chip behind himself.
You're absolutely right. That's what Luke has just sort of said, but it's...
The only hand you can't fold is top set, because you're not allowed. You're not allowed to fold the nuts, right? On the river.
You know, on the one hand, it does feel like collusion, but strategy dictates it that Luke has a vested interest in seeing Katchalov survive. It's amazing.
Well, it really is. Well, that's what the players are talking about now. I'm not even sure that would be legal.
Talking about it illegal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Doing it's legal. Doing it's legal.
Yeah.
Like, as we're discussing.
Doing it's legal.
Talking about it isn't. And these guys police themselves, Mike.
Wonder what's going to happen.
This tournament, while important, is not important for anyone that it would be worth their reputation.
Well, look what's happened. That's exactly what's happened now. Katchalov has moved all in, and Schwartz is going to fold.
This, Mike.
No, I just need to not to bust first. I just need somehow Erik to lose.
This is amazing. Katchalov, Luke's going to pump Katchalov up again just enough to start doing damage.
Jesse, we got to explain to the viewers one more time, because it looks like open collusion, as you said, open cheating, so to speak. But in truth, it's a strategy that dictates, you know, it's the only way a guy can win is to do exactly what he's doing. So is that right or is that wrong? Is it fair to all the other players?
You don't see strategy this extreme in poker ever. It makes the Premier League special. And, you know...
And of course, it all only happens in heat number 4.
Right.
You know, the final heat that determines who goes through to the final.
This could be a 6 spot for me.
And this is happening again. Luke has raised. Katchalov has moved all in. Luke has passed. Obviously, there will be a limit, not just for how often Katchalov can do this, but for Luke, he has to keep some chips because he still has to have enough chips to knock out Erik Seidel.
I think I'll do it one more time. I'm not sure. Maybe it's 50 chips. I'll give you 50 more.
No, but like, I mean, Eugene's already.
I mean, this could take a long time strategically to eliminate anybody.
And let's not forget, I mean, Luke Schwartz's position is about as hopeless as it can be because Seidel has the chips to fold now, basically to outlast everybody else on the table. So
that's correct. I don't think Erik Seidel will be playing a pot, period. And he certainly won't be playing one against Luke.
How much is that?
Matt Franklin has asked how much it is. Now he covers both these players. This is an interesting idea for Matt Franklin. He's gone all in behind.
Win the or lose.
I was going to do that. They don't realise how good a spot this was for me and Matt.
I just hope he doesn't
We can re-isolate all in, you have to fold.
It's true.
We just have to be ahead of that hand, and I was going to do it.
Luke Schwartz has to pass. He's got no hand anyway.
Oh, you were playing too?
I had ace-9. Like,
And for Matt Franklin now, the chance not only to knock Eugene Katchalov out of this Premier League, but Luke Schwartz as well.
How do you get a can there?
Matt Franklin currently in 3rd position in the league tables. What do you think about his strategy decision?
Well, it's incredible. I wouldn't have done it with his hand right there, but it turns out he's in about as good a position as you could be. Ace-10 versus 10-7.
Eugene Katchalov's Premier League hanging on a 7.
Luke Schwartz is also.
Yeah, Luke Schwartz is as well.
Where's that 8?
Ace-9 was
A deck with an 8 or a 7 from heaven.
It's good there's a 9 there.
With an 8 or a 7 from 11.
Tony G has said it best. Will this go on? It will not.
Nope.
And that was a double.
Welcome back, Erik.
Well, that was a double, basically. Eugene Katchalov, as he walks out the door, he's had a really rough Premier League, never picked up any good spots in the first 3 heats. The extreme strategy did not work.
I should have called just to give him more.
And strategically, he played correctly. He did everything he was supposed to do in terms of trying to advance to the finals.
And for Luke Schwartz, now the knowledge that his Premier League is officially over. All he can do is play spoiler. Have a look at the chips here. Luke Schwartz down to 254,000. There's a lot of new dynamics, mostly Erik Seidel in a great position to try now and crack the top 3 spots.
Funny things happen here at the Premier League, often point dependent. Tell us about your very bold strategy out there.
Yeah, I had a very complex strategy of just basically shoving every single hand. Like no one can really call any hand, and I'm not actually sure. I don't think Erik was supposed to call me with aces. That's the funny thing, because he can't afford to bust out last. So I think he was supposed to fold, but I guess I'm not really 100%, but I don't think he was supposed to call. But he called, and he won. But basically, if I don't run into aces or kings, everyone's gonna fold every single hand. And in the first orbit, I would pick up like 63,000. Second orbit, I could pick up double that. So basically, there's a very high likelihood that after like 2 levels, I would have like a humongous chip lead, basically with no risk.
Without running into aces, which unfortunately happened. There weren't a lot of great spots for you in this Premier League. It seemed like you did run into hands a lot.
Yeah, I did run into hands a lot. It's kind of unfortunate for me, but that's the luck of the draw, I guess.
Yeah, it looked like Luke was kind of trying to help your stack build up a little bit there, because obviously it matters to him that you don't go out, right?
Yeah, because he doesn't want me to go out first, because for him to have any shot, he needs Erik to go out first and for him to finish first. So it's even harder for him than for me, but at least he has a chance. So his only hope is to at least help me get enough chips to bust Erik, possibly, if I can. So or keep running over the table or something. He can't have me bust, because now he's drawing dead, unfortunately. So
it's a very particular.
It's really not poker. It was more like game theory, I guess. What was going on there?
Yeah, and it was definitely going to happen early on in this heat. So thank you very much for explaining it, and we'll see you again in the next Premier League.
Thank you.
Try mine.
Everyone kind of wondering what the next stage is going to be. Does anyone else have a chance to make an extreme statement? Andy Frankenberger, could adopt a Eugene type strategy. I don't think he will.
Yeah, 50k was kind of enough to start jamming you.
Yeah, and then if he goes...
Well, if they lose one more player, the light might shine brighter for Frankenberger, realizing he must win the heat to advance, actually, or to get to the top 3 spots anyway. So then you'll see play change dynamically here at this table.
Absolutely. Frankenberger does not particularly want Luke Schwartz to be the next out. And I think Luke Schwartz realizes that.
3 raise, 11.
This is the ultimate testing,
Being that Andy Frankenberger has 17 points, Luke Schwartz is a useful spoiler for him in a sense, Mike. the better Luke Schwartz does, the better chance that Andy Frankenberger can get into the playoffs or the final with a lower score.
Well, Frankenberger should not be playing this pot, in my opinion, against him, even though he had the best hand pre-flop.
Interesting dynamic.
Luke totally understands the situation here.
Playing against someone with nothing to lose. Little to lose.
You still win money?
You still win money.
Mike, I agree with you.
I mean, he's just burning up chips in my mind. And he's got to go out.
Not that qualified.
It's going to be a tough spot for Frankenberger. Obviously, the dynamic that Seidel has now put into the game with his double up suits everybody. Suits nobody but Seidel himself. Here's the league as it stands now. Katchalov out. The big bubbles, of course, between 3rd and 4th position and 5th and 6th. Seidel, you know, with the chip lead, obviously anything more than 8 points, 3rd place or better, is going to seriously put Seidel into the top 3, perhaps.
Right, the top 3 guys automatically advance to the final. The guys that finish in 4th and 5th place play heads up to see which one of them will join the other guys in the final.
We have reached the end of the first level, and what a level it has been. After the break, the blinds go up, and the players continue to jockey for a top 3 finish.
Welcome back. We're reaching the end of the league stage. Eugene Katchalov and Luke Schwartz now have no chance of qualifying for this year's Premier League final. Luke, who is still at the table, is playing for some extra cash, though, as each point he wins today will convert to $2,000. The action now continues with Jesse May and Mike Sexton.
Blinds 2 and 4,000 now, and every expectation that the next big confrontation right now is going to be between Luke Schwartz and Andy Frankenberger.
I'm not saying they shouldn't, but Phil wasn't. Erik obviously wasn't. I wasn't. That's 3 people right there.
He should have taken, instead of the whole table, like 3 players.
And we'll just wait and see what Andy Frankenberger is waiting for. You believe it's going to be a premium hand, ace, queen, a pocket pair, something along that line?
I do indeed.
He should have gone 5x.
He's just going to realize, okay, well, I'll just take these chips and fight from here to see if I can come in first place.
Then what's he going to do?
No.
Sure will.
Eugene Katchalov went all in 10 hands in a row before Erik Seidel put the stoppers in. Since that time, Luke Schwartz has been moving in, the last 10 or so hands in a row. And this is, look at that, ace queen suited for Sam Trickett. Unparalyzed, unable to even put a chip in the pot with that hand. Luke Schwartz has put a 20 blind bet out there.
Well, it's weird that Sam Trickett came to this final table in 2nd position, but what's happened so far is the worst nightmare for him, honestly, is the guy in 3rd place and the guy in 5th place have doubled up and have a lot of chips now, which means they could go past him to bump him out of the top 3 spots, as could Phil Laak if he wins this heat. So he's in jeopardy.
This is your one, right? This is a different one than he just showed me.
You know, Mike, it's early to think like this, but it will be significant. If this just goes on and on, Frankland having approximately 100,000 more than Trickett, 100,000 more than Laak, it's that idea that they are going to have to stick their chips in before you.
Correct. They're going to have to win a pot before you need to play a pot.
But I wasn't thinking.
You're familiar with these dynamics from playing Super Satellites, I'm sure, Mike, where there'd be 20 players left and 18 seats, and it's just about who is going to get the all-in first if they fold every hand.
Well, that's correct, because in a Super Satellite, 20th place is equal to 1st place if they're giving out 20 seats. So it's not how many chips you have. You just got to get across the finish line, even if you have a very small stack left. Anytime a tournament comes down to that kind of format, strategy takes place as much or more than playing real poker like you would in a cash game, for example, with a hand. You may lay down 2 kings or 2 aces if 3 guys have gone all in that spot, even though you have aces, because you're going to make it to the top 20, so to speak, in that situation, because 2 of them are going to be eliminated.
Mike, if the players bust in order of chip stacks now, it would be Erik Seidel, I believe, who with 37 points, would be the chip leader at the final table. Mathew Frankland would go in along with him. And for Sam Trickett,
he's gone all in.
Wow.
With 2 9s.
He didn't know if that was the right play or not. He was pretty sure it was ahead of Luke's range. What do you think?
Well, he wasn't going to fold if somebody raised him, so he just moved all in himself.
You can't let them run over you like that, Bubblegum.
Obviously had 9s.
Had he just called there or just made a small raise, Luke Schwartz might have moved in. And now what do you do with 2 9s? He's just saying, if you can beat this hand, good luck to you.
That's the thing. Yeah.
But he was understanding that, you know, he just can't sit there because nobody's playing a pot. And if he doesn't gather some chips, the guys that are ahead of him are going to pass him. And he's not going to finish in the top 3.
Absolutely. And
it's a very stressful strategy. I mean, you know, it's the final table that puts you under great stress because strategy dictates how you play.
Mike, Tony G folding the 8s there, and this is quite interesting. Erik Seidel limping into Luke Schwartz's big blind and then calling a raise. And
he's a shark.
Cards on the glass, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know what to make of this. Obviously, Seidel has twice as many chips of Schwartz, so you know he in the back of his mind has his eye on first position.
Well, Schwartz has outflopped him. He's now got 2 kings. 10,000. Erik called 10,000 with 2 6s.
Knowing that he can never really call a big bet.
I've got a king. That's why I checked the turn. Otherwise I was all in.
Amazing stuff. I mean, I guess that was sort of a blocker bet for Seidel. Luke is actually considering passing this. I mean, it's
incredible. He could pass this.
It's really hard to know what the dynamics are that Seidel is thinking about. I guess Seidel is saying to himself, look, I've got chips. I'm just going to try and find the best spots, Mike, to gather chips and make sure I win this thing.
He does pass. Incredible that Seidel will win that pot with 2 6s. With a $10,000 bet. Now that's going to have people scratching their heads there, Jesse.
Luke Schwartz must have just decided that it would not make any sense for Seidel to be betting with anything but the nuts. Seidel is definitely clever there.
Welcome back. Eugene Katchalov has been knocked out in last place and leaves with 0 points. He's now in a precarious position on the league table. 7 are left in the Premier League match. Back over to your commentary team.
Well, that was really impressive stuff right there.
What's happened to poker?
And I think he was betting 10,000 just in case Schwartz had something like ace deuce and couldn't call him or something. But to fold 2 kings in that spot, it was surely a defensive bet. It was not an offensive bet by Erik Seidel.
Right, he wanted to put enough doubt in Luke's mind so that Luke didn't move in, maybe. And in that position, Schwartz is always going to, he knows what Laak's mentality is. And you can't blame Phil for having that right now.
He didn't like that Sam Trickett move. Where he
that was an incredible move.
That's trying to tilt him a little bit, yeah.
Flop, Schwartz bet 10,000.
Putting in the 100 ball.
Yeah, and on the river, Seidel bet 10,000, and he won the pot.
Yeah, you'd fold 2 9s.
You know, Luke seems to be trying to employ all these weird strategies. The funny thing is, Mike, is that more than anyone at the table, Luke Schwartz, now being out of the Premier League, has a very simple strategy. You know, he should have one. Just try and play good poker, get as many points as you can for the prize money involved.
If I bust you, I have 600K.
I think Matt Frankland just folded ace-king under the gun, so he's clearly decided that his edge, you know, he doesn't have to make the next move in a sense against his main competitors, who are Sam Trickett, Tony G, and Luke Schwartz, excuse me, and Phil Laak right now. You could always tell. You could always tell Tony's mood by how much he's talking, and he was very chatty during the first 20 hands. You can almost feel the wheels turning in Tony's mind, and he's realizing that actually things are kind of against him right now.
Well, Schwartz raises with the Jack 9. And
oh, this is a big decision. Big decision for Phil Laak.
Sure, you wouldn't drown kings, so.
Big decision. And, you know, he does have a lot of reasons to move here, Mike. Is this hand strong enough?
Well, what he's thinking about, does he just want to call this or move all in? Cost him $25,000 to make the call.
160.
270 maybe.
But, I mean, it's Luke Schwartz. There's no benefit for Luke Schwartz in calling him light, is there? Whoa.
No, if he moves all in, I can't see Luke playing this hand. I mean, Phil should understand that he's only playing to win the heat now. So if he doesn't have a hand, he cannot call an all-in bet by Phil Laak.
Currently, Phil Laak is on 23 points. He is in 4th position, although with Seidel having chips, he's closer to 5th position. And it's Frankenberger, and this is a much more understandable move by Frankenberger, who's currently in 6th. He needs this. He understands it. He needs to gamble a little bit. There's a perfect hand to do it with.
I think he's got to hope Luke calls him.
Well, it wouldn't make any sense for Luke to call.
No, none at all. There's no benefit to gamble with a poor hand right now. You know, he can't get in the final anyway, so he's just got to play to win the heat. So, you know, you raise because everybody's playing so tight, but if they come back over the top and move all in, you know they have a hand. So why are you going to put your chips in with a Jack 9?
That's amazing. I have to fold that. That's so sick.
What did you fold?
Just the nuts, except that his hand was beaten.
Phil Laak dodged a bullet there.
I'm not so sure. Had Phil Laak moved all in, I'm not sure Andy Frankenberger would have played the pot.
Yeah, right you are, actually. Right you are.
You sure?
So I believe Phil Laak, I think he should have moved all in with the ace-jack of clubs against that particular player.
I wasn't worried about your hand. I was worried about the guys.
And Mike, that's based on saying to yourself, if you're Phil Laak, what better spots am I going to find as this goes on? As it turns out, as neither Phil Laak nor Tony G have played a hand, there is a bit of a race between them. I mean,
and we saw Trickett play one. He moved all in with 2 9s.
Yeah, and those extra chips are vital. Just to finish one place ahead of Tony G right now for Sam Trickett or Phil Laak could be the difference between a top 3 and a top 5 spot.
Well, 20K is the bet by Frankenberger here.
It's the first heat as well that people like haven't had 1K chips to bust the blinds with. Like, people are actually running out.
Yeah, and Frankenberger is the one guy who, you know, I don't think Luke Schwartz can intimidate, but
well, he's trying to intimidate him here.
200 behind, a bit more.
Leading out there with the 7 high, Schwartz takes it down. He's going to enjoy just being a pain, really.
Not just a pain to Frankenberger, to everybody else at the table as well.
Working this. There.
As you mentioned, Andy Frankenberger, they don't come much more intelligent. It's going to be really fun to see him. He believes, Mike, that he's the kind of guy who can adapt, who can figure out, who can work things out. I can't wait to see what he comes up with.
I don't know.
Very bright guy. Obviously, Erik Seidel, very bright guy. Phil Laak, actually, I think has a genius IQ himself. I mean, these are very smart guys sitting at this table.
Hey, look at this. Straight all in. He knows that he has to, that busting Luke Schwartz is going to be his best chance of survival. Sooner or later, he has to bust Luke Schwartz, and he's going to find some spots to show Luke that he's not scared of him. He's not.
And he knows he's got to get chips. So the best place to get him is from Luke Schwartz.
For sure.
That's the point.
there were a couple Premier League players who said, Mike, you know, how did Andy Frankenberger get an invite? And the ironic thing is there was only 2 guaranteed invites in this year's Premier League poker. One of them was for the WPT Player of the Year, and one of them was for the Mixed Game Champion. And as you know, Andy Frankenberger won both of those.
Exactly.
So not only was he invited, he was the first name on every list.
You kind of owe me one.
Again, was WPT Player of the Year. He won a World Series of Poker bracelet this past year. His performance in the Premier League has been amazing. How could he not be on the invite list? That's the better question.
And he was in a spot right there. Trickett has actually decided to raise with the ace-king here, but he hasn't moved all in. Schwartz obviously just calling to make trouble.
And incredibly, as you saw, the Jack-10 of clubs was folded by Frankenberger there.
Now, a lot of people in Trickett's spot right there, Mike, would have just said, I'll go all in, top pair, top kicker. If he's got me beat, what can I do? Trickett hasn't done that. You know, how do you weigh this up right now if you're Sam Trickett?
Well, he's walking the dog. He's just going to check, call, check, call, check, call. That's what he's going to do here, I think. And just hope that Luke continues to bluff at this pot. Luke now has a draw where he can win the pot. That's why he checked there. A 5 would win it for him. It's the only card he can catch to win the pot.
8, bet 40, 3, 4.
And Trickett does take the pot down. I'm sure he was a little bit worried about it. On the plus side, with Trickett now having at least 27 points, I believe he is almost guaranteed to make the top 5. Obviously not the top 3, but there is a bit of flexibility for him there.
Remember, the 4th and 5th place finisher will play a heads-up battle to determine who's going to get that 4th seat. The top 3 go through automatically, and obviously you want to be in the top 3 spots, but finishing 4th or 5th is not the end of the world because you have a good chance to advance even from that spot. But
right, for Trickett to finish 6th, he would have to not only go out in 7th position, then he'd have to get 4 other people to pass him. I think it's possible, but it would have to fall exactly perfect. So unlikely.
We'll be back after the break as Group A's last league match continues here in Vienna. Welcome back to Premier League Poker 5. There's still 7 at the table in Group A's last league match, and it's a scramble for points. Let's head back to your commentary team.
One thing about this final heat, Mike, is the action has gone very fast. You've got at least 4 of the 7 players almost playing on autopilot. They're playing such a narrow range. Seidel's among them, obviously. You know,
yeah, it certainly is. Only hand he's played at this final table was the 2 aces.
He's decided just to open shove here.
Well, just moving all in here. And actually, the all-in bet, in my opinion, is probably better than coming in for 20,000 or so, where you can let a guy see a flop, where they can play. They can't afford to put all their chips in. They can afford to put in 20,000 and see a flop. Or if they flop the nuts or a big hand, they can continue to play. But he's just going to force them to pick up aces, kings, queens, ace, king. Remember, he moved in a minute ago. We saw Phil Laak, who needs to get some chips, fold ace, jack of clubs.
Eugene Katchalov started this out with the extreme strategy of moving all in every hand. It seemed brilliant as it was going to be until it didn't work. Took 10 hands for Seidel to pick up the aces, and that was all.
It actually was very good strategy on Katchalov's part.
Now, here we go, Mike. Seidel has limped. Luke Schwartz has moved all in, and Seidel has the ace-king. I mean, let's think this through.
Wow.
Now, Erik Seidel knows that he is almost always somewhere around between a 2-to-1 and a 3-to-1 favorite, depending on if Luke has an ace. Obviously, sometimes he's 50-50, but he knows that's very small percentage of Luke's holdings because Luke would be moving all in every time.
I predict Erik Seidel makes this call.
Seidel has 287,000 back. By winning here, he would be so close to ensuring himself not only a top 3 finish, but even potentially being chip leader at the final. There's such a big upside, Mike.
Well, there's a big upside, but there's also a huge downside for him. He falls back into the same stack size as Phil Laak and Frankenberger if he plays this pot and loses it. Right now, he's in great shape with his chip count. If he would play this pot and lose it, because it's going to cost him about $300,000 to play this pot against Luke Schwartz.
Currently, Erik Seidel is in. Yeah, he's called.
I got not low.
He's he's currently in 5th position. As long as he outlasts Andy Frankenberger, he's guaranteed a top 5 spot. And if he loses this pot, he will still have more chips than Andy Frankenberger. This is very gutsy from Erik Seidel.
Well, it was gutsy, but I thought he would play it. Good read, Erik. I mean, he's just not going to be pushed around completely by this guy. And there he is. He gets out flopped.
This will give you much more power now.
A lot more power.
So much power.
I wonder who is happy about this and who's not. Look at that. And now Seidel needs a deuce or a king. Or
that's it. A deuce or a king is all he can catch to win the pot. Doesn't happen as the 5 comes off. And now the dynamics change completely. Luke Schwartz in total command in terms of chip count now at this final table. Can virtually do what he wants. He knows nobody's going to play a pot now because Erik Seidel is back down in that same zone with the other players in terms of chip count. And now you're really going to see a strategic battle take place. And the truth of the matter is, that was the best thing that could happen for Phil Laak and Andy Frankenberger, in my opinion.
no question about it. No question about it at all, Mike. Luke Schwartz has just done guys like Laak, Matt Frankland, Sam Trickett a huge favor, and including obviously Andy Frankenberger, who now has a real chance of seeing Seidel go out soon. And boy, getting into the final 5 with a top 5 or 4 finish.
I can sort it out myself.
Luke Schwartz, who has been a non-factor throughout this Premier League, is now the kingpin. He holds all the cards. He can almost play God and decide who goes through and who doesn't.
When you got that many, definitely call that.
But how about that strategy to go move over the top of Erik Seidel right there with the 3-deuce offsuit? He knew Erik would have to have a really premium hand to play. He did have one and still thought a long time about folding it. The ace king. And now he wishes he had of.
Yeah, one more. 6 is 3 6 blinds. Now we have the
Luke telling us how much he wins.
Give Erik Seidel credit. He figured out that Luke Schwartz was obviously at it, as we say in the poker world.
What's this? Tony
in poker jargon.
Mike, Tony G's got the aces. He doesn't, and he doesn't know what to do. What do you do with the aces?
Raise 30,000.
He makes it 30,000 to go. He's hoping Luke moves all in on him, I think.
Yeah, put him to the test.
As you pointed out, for Tony G right now, giving Luke Schwartz chips is the second best thing to winning them.
Exactly right. If Luke makes a move here, he's going to get action.
Luke, who has not folded a hand.
Well, there's no reason for Luke to play this pot. There's really not.
No. Tony G is not the guy he wants to take on.
Now here's the problem, raising it to 30,000. Phil Laak can make a call here with the 2 nines.
Strongest hand. My
Doesn't have to raise here.
This is the strongest hand I've got today. This is my strongest hand.
Well, that means he's going to lay it down. He's telling everybody it's the strongest hand.
Lines are 3 and 6,000, so yeah, he could call for 24,000. There is,
I think it's the right play for him.
Under the terms of how he stands against the guys just ahead and just below him, Phil Laak currently has 20,000 less chips than Erik Seidel.
Well, Phil Laak is not going past Tony G in terms of standings unless he wins this heat.
This guy would never play a hand in his life. He would play a hand.
Exactly.
He'd rather.
That's the best spot.
He'd rather not make it than play a hand.
Just fold another big hand.
He will fold.
I'm folding everything, of course.
And he doesn't. Last person who wants to double up is you.
I'm not folding.
Because of his point situation, it's like the easy shove ever.
Super ideal.
As long as things continue, Schwartz now will continue to pick up chips, and you foresee, Mike, that it's going to be up to Frankenberger and perhaps even Seidel to make their stand against him.
Well, obviously all the players want Frankenberger going out next, because the worst they can do then is play heads up for that final seat.
Right, right.
So he's the guy with the bullseye on their chest right now. Well,
Trickett's gone all in.
Can't blame him for going all in here with 2 queens.
Wow, that's a terrible show by you. I've got queens, but like, it's a terrible show by you. Just makes people more likely to shove on you.
No, you're the only one who would shuffle me. Most people would fold queens there.
My point was I don't love Eugene's strategy because you want, I mean, none of us, would you have folded aces?
No.
So not one of us would have folded aces.
No, he's saying
so
everyone should, but like, maybe mathematically.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather give myself a better chance of winning the whole thing.
Right, right. That's why I don't love the
Once
strategy.
you got a few pots, you could
at some point,
held back a bit.
Right.
And then
Because at some point, someone's going to get aces.
Interesting discussion on the table. Frankenberger saying he didn't love Eugene's strategy because it wasn't just just Seidel who would call with aces, but anyone at this table.
He was arguing.
Well, the point he's making is he didn't have to move all in to make that decision. He could have bet 50,000 every time nobody's going to play against him unless they had 2 aces. So if somebody comes in over the top of him, moves all in, they can throw his hand away and save some chips. That's what Frankenberger is saying there. At some point, somebody's going to pick up aces, and they're going to play them.
It's giving you a better chance.
Katchalov might be talking to himself right now about that same thing. Why didn't they just come in for 100,000? Sure. Why'd they have to move all in? You get the same information.
Yeah, and then you've got a massive advantage. Yeah.
If anybody's got the moxie to move over the top of a $100,000 bet, all in at this stage with no hand, then good luck to them. They deserve the pot.
I agree with that.
I won't fold any big hand. I'll fold 9s. I'll go in.
Sam Trickett's point that he's making is that even though he was risking getting knocked off the final table, he still has his eye on the $500,000 prize, and for that reason, he believes that he should actually play all his big hands where he feels he has a big advantage.
Everyone should. Which, if the aim of this thing was to make the final, then you should, but it's not.
If it was a satellite.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly. That's where he's gone wrong.
Right, and there's 2.
It is to make the final though, because you can only win.
It is to make the final, yeah, but
there's also
we're not here to make the final. It's not a satellite.
There's first place pays 500, last place pays what, 55?
Getting knocked out is not worth the value of doubling up here at this stage for any of these guys.
We've said it several times. The players have fallen into a pattern right now. The pattern is Schwartz taking every pot unless Frankenberger moves all in, or one of the other players move all in with a very big hand. Frankenberger's done it with the King Jack here. He's right to do. Oh my gosh!
Oh well, here we go. Tough decision for Trickett here. He knows this could be it for the final table.
And he says, I'm just not going to make a big fold.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what.
You're my downfall.
Ralph Perry.
I'll tell you what, Mike. Trickett is doing a huge favor to guys like Seidel and Laak right now. Their hero is Sam Trickett here.
Well, Phil Laak's strategy will work perfectly for him if indeed the ace-king holds up here.
If it doesn't, if there's a jack in this deck.
Well, if a queen comes off, you see what's happening there. He understands he's got to have a jack. He hit a jack on the turn. Look at this. Trickett can't believe what's happened. Unbelievable. He now has to catch an ace or a 10 to win this pot.
It is unbelievable.
And a deuce comes off. Frankenberger drawing out on the turn there, catching a jack, which is all he could catch to win that pot.
That's his Premier League.
Everybody is shocked.
He is. Phil Laak's mouth just hit the floor. Phil Laak, look at Phil Laak. He can't believe it. It's like he's just lost the biggest pot of his life. It's the Frankenberger factor. Frankenberger, who started Heat 4 in the elimination zone, needs a big win today to secure a place in the final. This Premier League season has been turbulent for the mixed game champion. In Heat 1, he went heads up against Phil Laak, and he fell short, taking second place.
That was a sick ride. Wow, I never expected to win it. That was sick.
In the second heat, he went up against Laak again, 8-handed. The World Open 4 champion went on to make a straight on the river and went all in. Frankenberger, scared of the flush and straight possibilities, folded, and he was left short stacked and was soon out the door. He was relatively quiet in Heat 3, hoping to hang on for big points. He ended up taking 5th place. One more back. After winning the Premier League Mixed Game Championship, he is determined to win through to the final and prove he can take down 2 Premier League events back to back.
I'm the first to admit I don't make great decisions every single time, but I think things through and I have a unique way of approaching the game. And so being humble on the poker table is a huge advantage for me. I've been looking forward to this tournament for a long time. Winning this event would definitely be one of the highlights of my career. This is a real opportunity to show that I am able to compete with these guys, and it would be a huge, huge accomplishment for me.
Yeah, Trickett obviously a little bit rattled, but it's not nearly as bad as you might think for him. In fact, there is a case to be made, Mike, that result was worse for Seidel and Laak than it was for Trickett.
Well, no question about it.
Phil Laak has moved all in. Phil Laak has moved all in.
Nobody going to play with him.
I would love you to.
He had the goods.
No. What do you need?
Really? They still have it.
Yeah. I have aces. I have aces.
For Frankenberger, that card was a massive card. He punched the air with his fist.
I think I might be the only one who thinks
I want the guy to call. I don't care.
But let's not forget, he still needs to get a top 3 finish.
If he calls, I'm like, yeah, come on, bring it on.
Everybody else is hard hit the floor also because, as you said, Jesse, all the remaining players would at worst been in a heads-up battle to play. They'd have been in the top 5, so they had a chance to advance to the final. But that jack on the turn has upset the apple cart for everybody, and now they're all back to the drawing board.
Waiting for you now.
Yes, I would.
Talk around the table is that the pressure is, and here comes Sam Trickett moving all in.
I'll try and double you up.
Luke Schwartz has called him.
We got the race situation, the 2 overcards versus the under pair. Luke has 2 5s. Of course, we saw Matt Frankland fold an ace.
Trying to do him a favor.
You folded an ace.
Sam Trickett could very well become the most interested spectator on the rail to find out, and we'll just, oh, there's the 6.
Well, 6 right in the door, but it's 8-7-6, so an open-ended straight for Schwartz. He needs a 4, 5, or a 9 now to win this pot.
These have never come though.
Well, it's a 10, but it's a 10 of spade now. Trickett does have the ace of spade, so that eliminates a couple of the outs. And there's an ace, so there you go. Trickett doubling up there. And Jesse, I got to say, it seems like a little justice there for Trickett at the least.
Absolutely. Sam Trickett still going to be on the short stack. Now the statistics here have been largely determined by the extreme strategy. Luke Schwartz with a 75% V-chip, while Frankland and Laak and Tony G have only played 1 hand each.
Well, I think you can throw the V-chip and the aggression chart out of here for this final heat because it doesn't apply.
Poker's elite continue to battle it out here in Vienna for maximum points in this league match after the break.
This is Premier League Poker, and we've reached the last league matches. The players are taking a short break. Let's go over to Kara Scott, who is catching up with Andy Frankenberger.
Currently the chip leader at the table. Andy, how much are you willing to risk now your chips against other players?
I'm not going to talk about my strategy. There's too many ears in the room for what I'm doing right now. I'll talk about what I've done up till now.
Okay, let's talk about what you've done up till now then.
Yeah, I had no problem putting my chips in the middle. I was ready for it. I was really hoping that I got a hand against Eugene when he came out with all guns firing, but I just didn't pick up anything. I did fold ace-8 once, but I just didn't think that was strong enough to put my tournament life at risk. But I was ready to get it in against Luke, and I was not expecting that call from Sam. Man, that was scary.
Who do you think out there is actually playing this point structure correctly?
Well, the funny thing is I would say Luke's playing it particularly well, except he has no upside right now. He's just playing to win maximum dollars at this point. His strategy, he knew what he had to do, which is beat Erik first. And so, right now he should just be playing to win. It's tough to say. There haven't been a lot of hands played. I mean, if I were in Sam's spot, I probably would not have called with the ace-king there. Tough to say. Hopefully I'm playing it okay.
Well, it's a crucial match, and it's a crucial position right now. Fifth or better, and you go straight through to the playoffs, so good luck.
Thank you, Kara.
For his spot.
Lines now going to 5 and 10,000, players coming back from a short break. And Mike, they've all had a chance to look at the point totals a little closer, the possibilities. And one of the interesting things that we were just talking about is that guys like Erik Seidel and Phil Laak, Sam Trickett losing that pot to Andy Frankenberger was nearly as bad for them as it was for Trickett.
Well, it's true. Had Frankenberger gone out, all the remaining players, other than Luke Schwartz, of course, who can't go to the final anyway, would have been in the top 5, meaning at worst they're going to play heads up for a spot to go to that final table. So, you would have a good shot had Frankenberger gone out and not got that jack on the turn. But now it's back to work and back to the strategy concept one more time. And it really is complex right now. It's like a matrix here, trying to figure out what you really want to have happen.
Frankenberger's limped in here, and Trickett with the king-queen has decided to call, has chess checked it. And interestingly enough, if Trickett was to go out in 7th, even though it would open the possibility of him not making the top 6, most likely results do still keep him in the top 5. And actually, the pressure would then switch to Erik Seidel and Phil Laak. One of them would be on the hook for finishing in that 6th place position if they can't make a top 4's finish.
Well, Trickett's mind is whirring away here. He's probably putting Frankenberger on an ace, but wondering if he makes a big play at this pot, would Frankenberger throw it away? And it's a good question. I don't think he would with the 4 diamonds out there.
Yep.
But you could see Trickett was trying to figure out, would Frankenberger throw the hand away if I moved in on him right there? I don't think he would with Trickett's chip count.
One of the things I've been thinking about is that the brain power required to figure out these permutations, it's slightly different than traditional poker skills. I think of guys, old Premier League poker players like Roland DeWolf, who always seem to know instantly what the permutations were. That's how his brain works. And in this field, Mike, I just have this sense that Andy Frankenberger's brain works a little bit like that, used to making quick decisions on the derivatives floor, that he is actually well equipped for the skills required in this particular heat.
6-7 raise all in.
Well, this is incredible to me that Matt Frankland threw an ace-queen away.
Huh?
And Trickett moved all in with the ace-queen, of course.
I went to the food restaurant.
Meaning Frankenberger went out.
Ordering a pizza.
But why would Matt Frankland throw an ace-queen away there when Frankenberger came in that pot? I'm just curious about that.
Looked to me like she was like.
I mean, I know he's got nearly 350,000 in chips, and maybe he just wants to see what's going to happen to Phil Laak first, or what's going to happen here to Erik Seidel. But
no, she put it in the bin eventually, and I went and took it out the bin.
It's a good point, Mike. I mean, Sam Trickett was talking before about, he said in a traditional tournament, I would never be folding on the bubble to try and make the final. I would always go for the win. He's decided to play his hands like that. Matt Frankland, might be thinking a little bit different, trying to make the final, trying to make the top 5. And he's just moved all in here.
Well, he's moved all in with 2 9s. And nobody going to call him.
Great. Fold.
So he lays down ace-queen. And Frankenberger made a small raise in front of him the previous hand. And this hand, he just moved all in with 2 nines.
You can find a shove with queens.
I might.
You might find the shove.
Make a stand with queens.
I might just have to put my foot down, you know? You open every pot.
Erik Seidel right now probably wishing this would change to a backgammon tournament. Laak, an expert backgammon player as well.
I got to play just aces, I guess.
6.
Set pedal? I don't know.
Folds.
I have to fold to the jam.
Fold. 2 call.
This is the
Tony
best
G.
I love Eric's tenacity. He just doesn't just fold the small. He just doesn't go.
40.
Well, Seidel has limped in here again with the ace-king. Is it time for him just to move in your opinion, Mike?
I think it is.
Down there.
I mean, how many hands are you going to get that's more premium than this? He's got ace-king suited. Now, remember the last time he played this ace-king against Schwartz. Schwartz had the 3-deuce, and he got broke. But at that time, I think you could question Erik's going all in because he had 600,000 in chips, was in great shape, just sit back and wait. But he gambled that hand and it cost him dearly, and if he gambles this one, it could cost him greatly.
Any chance that Seidel might say to himself, look, going all in is one option. Another option is to actually try and make a whole bunch of chips, allow Luke to hang himself, get doubled up. I mean, is that a thought? Still, you know, he doesn't just want to get to the top 5. He might be thinking, what is the best way to get on here?
Well played.
No, I think he's got to move all in.
I'll put it this time.
And that's the right strategy. And now Luke again forced to lay his hand down, but
definitely the right strategy.
I think it is for sure in that situation. I mean, if you don't move all in right there, every time you come in the pot, Luke Schwartz is going to raise you every time. So why are you giving up your chips if you're not forced to make a stand in that spot, in my opinion? You're just giving away chips if you're going to throw it away every time Luke raises, which is going to be every time you come into the pot.
Another big, sort of another aspect of that result, Erik Seidel taking some chips off Schwartz, is he now has more chips than Phil Laak.
Folds. King of hearts exposed.
Seidel's raised here again with the ace-king.
Cinema will raise 20.
And he's gonna, Schwartz is gonna put him to the test. What do you predict is gonna happen now?
And I predict again, Seidel is going to play the pot. This time Luke at least had a big hand.
Erik Seidel has been nothing if not resolute with taking on Schwartz. He took on Katchalov with the aces. He took on Schwartz once with the ace-king. Will he do it again?
I'm saying he will. But I think he regretted that decision when I said he would last time. Because had he thought about it, probably at best going to be just a 2-to-1 favorite to double up. And here's the same scenario.
As ironic as it seems, he is in fact a bigger favorite now against Schwartz than he was against the deuce 3.
Pretty good.
And of course, his fear is that Schwartz has got something like 2 8s or 2 9s where he's racing for the dough. If he knew he had ace-queen, obviously he'd already be in the pot.
Mike, in my opinion, being that Phil Laak has 2 points more than him, Seidel kind of has to take this on.
I have fun doing it.
Yeah, you'd almost think so. He's got to get some chips. I mean, what is he going to wait on?
I do believe that.
Well,
It's a head scratcher. If there's any guy who can think through the dynamics here, it's Erik Seidel. Give me an argument for folding. I mean,
well, the argument for folding is you play the pot and lose it, you're out, you're in 6th place, you have no chance to make the final table. That's the argument for folding, and it's a big argument. Well, Erik, you know, probably upset that he played the ace-king when he had 600,000 in chips. Now, he's probably going to regret that he didn't play this hand if in case things don't change for him at this final table when he ends up going out.
It's something like, I want to say,
but certainly,
but I don't think that's it.
Hard to criticize or question Erik Seidel's strategy. The guy's the most successful poker player in the history of poker in terms of winning money in tournaments.
Not just that, Mike, as you mentioned, champion backgammon player. He was a trader on Wall Street. He knows game theory, I think, probably as well as anybody in the business.
Yep, no question about it.
I'll get back to you guys on that.
That said, I'd be interested to hear his reasoning behind that decision. I mean, as everybody would, I'm sure.
Well, I agree with you. And I think even he's going to question it.
I'm glad I'm still sitting here.
In case he doesn't come back and make the top 5 or the top 3.
Not yet.
If you think about everybody's line in the sand, Phil Laak, it seems kind of clear that he may call with aces but isn't guaranteed to. For Frankenberger, he has to play this hand. He needs points, needs chips, Mike. He's got a much lower threshold.
Well, certainly he's going to raise this pot.
He's re-raised, Schwartz.
Yeah, not all in. He's hoping to get played with here. But Luke has nothing and just gives it up.
Now that Frankenberger has doubled through, as Luke throws it away, I'd like to predict that he's going to make the final table. There's a lot of dynamics that suit Andy Frankenberger at this table right now. He's got a lot of confidence. He's got that wild card factor. Another level has been played and done. Andy Frankenberger, the chip leader, as we go to 7 and 15,000 here, Mike.
Well, you're right. And Tony G on the short stack right now. He came to the final table as point leader, knows he just got to pick up a few more points to guarantee himself a top 3 position. So playing very conservative, played one hand today, 2 aces. That's it for him. And obviously just hoping somebody goes out where he's assured of the top 3 standing.
We return to Vienna after the break as the blinds go up here in Group A's final league match.
Welcome back to the Party Poker Premier League Poker Season 5. There are 16 players in this year's lineup, and they've been divided into 2 groups of 8. Group A's last league match is in action, with the players being awarded points for where they finish. The remaining players are scrambling for points. After this match, only the top 3 are guaranteed a place in the final.
Sam Trickett has, in fact, worked his stack back into this heat. Here's the points as they stand. So tight at the top, and with Frankenberger having chips, it means nobody is secure even in the top 5. In fact, Tony G probably a little bit upset about Sam Trickett getting his way back in. If Sam Trickett can outlast Tony G, that would be enough to ensure him into the top 5. He's playing very, very aggressive. Trickett in spots against Schwartz. It's probably the best place for him to pick up chips.
He drags him over him, but it's like after 3 hands, I figured that out.
Very good strategy by Trickett right now.
He's going to win it anyways. 20.
Knowing Luke's just coming in for 20,000 with any 2 cards. So he just moves all in with the ace deuce. Going to see if he had a hand there and if he wanted to gamble. But as you said, Trickett now, who was down to 60,000 a while back up to almost $250,000 in chips. A force again.
Seidel maybe having the toughest seat at the table right now with Luke Schwartz on his left. It's hard for him to find any spots to get chips into the pot. Certainly, Mike, this heat feels destined to go to the big blinds and the open shoves. It's going to be about holding your nerve and being willing to get them in.
And it's more fun to gamble.
Imagine if poker was always like this, Luke. You'd feel like an absolute boss, wouldn't you? Yeah, you'd be like...
It is like 2002 poker,
you get this a bit 2002, wasn't it?
You get a bit when you've got big stack in a multi-tournament.
Yeah,
it's almost like that. When everyone's got 20 blinds, and it's nearly the same.
Players are joking with Luke.
Actually, online tournament, you're not...
You know, when has he dominated a game like this before? It feels like 2002 poker, they're saying. Of course, there are situations in multi-table tournaments, as Luke pointed out, when you do have this, the big stack just bossing everyone around. Here comes Erik Seidel. What has he got? Is it ace? It's 2 jacks. And they're all just going to pass. Has Trickett got a reason to do anything but pass?
I don't think so with this hand, a 10-9. He can't even afford to call the 30,000.
I nearly peeled.
With his chip stack.
So polarized.
I mean, it's the kind of hand that a Sam Trickett and all top players want to play the suited connectors, but with this format at this particular time, just not the correct strategy to play it.
It's the bubble cricket.
And even if that hand flops well, it doesn't usually flop to beat
big hands.
to beat a big pair, not by the flop. You still have to catch.
So should build it.
What's going to be interesting to me is if Frankenberger comes in a pot and then Luke Schwartz just moves all in on him and see what happens then.
You might get your wish.
Well, here we go. This could do it right here, maybe. Frankenberger with 2 9s.
Come on. See if I qualify.
Nah, it feels right. Let's go.
I think Luke Schwartz has decided just to call instead. That's what happened. Schwartz has peeled off the flop.
Oh,
now he's got a flush draw. Now he's definitely going all in.
I'm surprised he would check there. Frankenberger. Well, certainly Luke can go all in right here, I would think. You just got to know Frankenberger cannot stand the pressure here.
I mean, that's one way. The other way of thinking about it is Frankenberger, you know, he still needs chips. He still needs top 2. If he feels like he has the best hand, obviously he's not going with 2 9s, Mike, but if he has ace-king here, he might actually go with it.
Well, he's made the call here. Now a deuce comes off. This gives Luke a flush draw. I'm surprised that this is going check here.
Luke has gone all in the dark.
Doesn't 3-bet in the ace.
He went all in the blind when Frankenberger checked the turn, knowing exactly that it was unlikely Frankenberger had an ace after checking. That was quite clever.
It really was.
Such a good flop.
Give Luke Schwartz a lot of credit there. Once his opponent checked on the turn, just didn't put him on an ace. So he said, I'm just moving all in here, even before the card was peeled off. And we know he had nothing but 9 high. The only thing that surprised me was he didn't move all in on the flop with that hand.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's no hand you're drawing dead with. Your opponent's got 3 aces. If flush will win it for you. If he's got a bigger flush draw, you win it with a 9 or a 4. So you can't be drawing dead with that hand, no matter what he has. And I just think it's just too much pressure for Frankenberger to take right now with his chip count like it was.
And he's shaking his head a little bit. But the other players, Phil Laak and Erik Seidel, be quite happy about that result. Suddenly, Frankenberger looking like the 6th man once again.
Come on. It's up to you, right?
I know it's up to me. Come on.
There's no clock.
No clock, for God's sake.
We're playing
You're
so
talking,
fast, it's
you're gonna
ridiculous.
fold
We're
right
like
now.
playing twice as fast as any other heat.
So you can't give him any time pressure, Tony G.
No, I'm just, he's already folding. He's already complaining about
all in. Cheers. You made me do it.
He did move all in and took down the pot. That is pretty headsy poker by this guy, let me tell you something. If he gets played with there and loses it, chances are he could finish in 6th place and not even make it to the heads-up battle.
Tested my courage. Shouldn't test my ego.
You're the only one with any courage here.
I had good hands through there.
Really?
Luke seems pretty fearless.
Some play by Trickett there to go all in.
What do you do with ace jack?
I don't know.
Nearly folded.
It is interesting, although because of the fact that Frankenberger has to do more than survive, as we think he really needs to get the top 2 spots. His stack right now of only 475,000 means he still has a lot of work to do.
Well, Jesse, you see the frustration just mounting on Tony G. He's the one sitting back. He came to the final table as point leader, has played 1 hand, 2 aces. Nobody else is going broke. theoretically, he could not even make the top 3 here. And all he's doing is just getting whittled away, and he's got to be extremely frustrated.
Last time Seidel limped into Schwartz's big blind, it was with ace-king. And he re-raised all in. Schwartz obviously recognizing that Seidel has a fairly big hand when he does this. Ace-10 was probably bottom end of his range.
I feel like Tom's one trapped on a plane, you know? Except I'm seeing the cards that I fold, and he couldn't, because he was on the plane.
You see people playing, obviously, extreme strategies and super satellites, as they're called. To me, this is super satellite times 10.
It's true.
This is even more extreme than that. Not only do you have to think about survival, but it's all about which players you decide to pick on.
Well, Matt Frankland moving all in with King Jack here. He's not making one of those small raises. He's just going to force somebody to pick up a big hand to beat him.
Like seeing that 4.
Yeah, loving the 4.
And it worked out, but all the same, it's a big gamble for Franklin there. He just decided that he has played no hands and that everyone will have to put him on a hand that's much, much bigger than King Jack, which Luke did. Schwartz is up to 700,000. Why? He's won every pot uncontested.
As you can see, he raises every pot pre-flop without even looking at his cards. And Trickett's the only one that gambles with him. He's moved all in over the top of him here with King Jack. He knows King Jack is a big favorite over 2 random cards. Maybe Luke should start looking at his hand before he bets. Otherwise, guys will make this kind of play against him.
They're starting to realize, Mike, they know they have to do something, and they are starting to realize that they're going to have to do it against Luke Schwartz, and it's up to them to find the range.
And guys like Sam Trickett and Erik Seidel are not afraid to do it. They're not afraid to pull the trigger. Even if they go out in 6th place, they're willing to gamble with the guy.
Phil Laak is now down under 200,000.
Now, Jesse, let me ask you a question. Do you think because Erik Seidel and Sam Trickett are very wealthy guys that influences some of their decision making?
I don't know. You know, they're all so competitive, Mike. I mean, but you are right that Sam Trickett has sort of stood up and said, I want to not only make the final table, I want to win this tournament. I want to be chip leader. I'm not going to limp in. It's just not my style.
Fold equity. Interesting.
But Tony G is just sitting back, just frustrated there. He's laying down ace-10 suited, 2 9s, all these kind of hands.
Blind out without ever playing.
He just needs a few more points to guarantee himself a spot at that final. So that's the reason he's playing so tight, hoping somebody goes out here other than Luke.
I mean, I do think, Mike, that Tony G is going to make the top 5 almost no matter what. But right now, the way that Tony is playing, the strategy that he's employing, he does seem destined to end up in the playoff zone. And he may regret that later on. I worry for his propensity to end up in 4th. Trickett's raised this and Seidel's in the tank. Obviously,
Erik Seidel is going to play this pot. Just the question is if he's going to move all in or not. And I think he is going to move all in. And there you go. He does move all in. Took him a long time to get there, which sort of surprises me. But maybe the long delay was he wants to send a message. He got a marginal hand, so Sam would play him. But no chance Sam Trickett's going to call here with a 10-5.
No, Trickett's actually very weak.
He's trying to look like he's stronger, these guys, every time he raises, but the truth is, he's got nothing. 10-5 here. What's he even thinking about, Jesse?
I don't know. There is an idea. how light would he call Erik Seidel right now? What would he do with the ace-jack? What would he do with the 2 9s?
Well, that was puzzling why it took him so long to fold that hand. He's just obviously trying to send a message out that when he raises, he has a real premium hand, and he had a tough decision as to what to do there. But we know he had no decision. It should have been an instant fold.
Seidel back up to 300K, and it's for many reasons back up to being a favorite to stay in the top 5. Phil Laak. There's a race between Phil Laak and Tony G right now for sure. Who is going to be in 7th place?
Well, ace-queen by Matt Franklin.
I think this might be a pass, Mike. It's unless he just wants to open raise all in.
Well, they mixed it 30,000 to go.
I'll donk about.
Well, Luke going to make the call with the queen-jack suited.
Yeah, but Luke, I mean, these players must think, I guess they must think that Franklin is capable of having a huge pair.
Oh, look at this. Phil Laak. I think if he plays this hand, he's going to ship it.
I think he's going to pass it, Mike. Saying to himself, how many times has Franklin open raised here? This is kings or aces very often, ace, king.
But he made the minimum raise.
Right.
Oh, wow.
I think Laak should ship it right here. Knows Luke doesn't have a hand.
If he does ship it, it's going to get through.
If you got a nice hand, just cool.
We'll see. I'm not so sure it'll get through.
It's 3-handed. You got.
The longer he takes.
Squad.
The more marginal his hand might seem.
It's like he's playing exactly the opposite of day 1 where he raised everything. Now he's played, this is his 2nd or 3rd hand, I think.
As much as Phil Laak is trying to find reasons to fold.
So whack. Okay, take the money. Take it, boys. Take the money. Take the money. Take it.
I bet blind, 20K blind.
Look at this. Flop comes 3, 4, 5. Luke leads right out and bets. And now he just puts the pressure right on Franklin. That's the problem when you don't just move in with ace-queen in that spot.
Paralyzed with fear is the table. Phil Laak just mucking the ace-queen.
Well, I think if Phil goes out and doesn't make it to the final, he's going to look right back at that hand and say, why didn't I just move all in with that?
7-4, 1-4, 2-4. 3 raise, 30,000.
Again, 30,000 in the dark by Luke.
4-4, 5.
You know, and until.
Cool.
6 all in.
Wow. A snap call by Schwartz, the Franklin all in. Schwartz must.
This is when we need a jack.
Schwartz must have something big. He does.
Yep.
Raise every hand for 5 hours, find jacks, and it's dead.
And you know, Mike, I think Schwartz was on to something. Franklin had moved in with a king-jack before. He'd raised with an ace-queen.
Still don't want to reduce her.
This is a bit of a cooler.
Drawing dead, he's got you covered for everything.
And
Well, king, 9, 8, all spades. Neither player has a spade, of course.
You can think about who's this going to benefit. Well, if it comes to jack, it benefits everybody but Franklin.
Everything is like just a perfect time.
Well, certainly Franklin going to benefit here.
In these situations.
But believe it or not, it's not even going to hurt Schwartz that bag. He's just going to have to go back to work again.
That doesn't count. That's a normal one. That was.
But for Matt Franklin, the double up, and let's think about how this is going to affect all the other players. I feel like it might put pressure on Tony G and Sam Trickett as far as Matt Franklin was just behind them in the league standings. Now if Franklin can push ahead and have a bigger finish than them, he can finish top 3 and push either G or Trickett out, Mike.
Well, no question about it, but I'm still questioning why Luke Schwartz would make the snap call in that spot with 2 jacks.
Franklin, though, 739,000. And for Schwartz, if he goes out next, it's going to spread a lot of chips around.
Well, one thing's for sure, Matt Franklin will be back in the rocking chair You won't see him playing anything for a while.
Next time, we see who's guaranteed a seat at the final table, which players will have to face the playoffs, and who will be out of this year's Premier League.
All right, I got to bluff through. 8 high, 8 high.
Phil Laak, you just got to wait now, baby. Patience.
All right, you can't say anything. Don't answer his question.
I'm not going to listen to Tony anyway. He clearly has no idea what he's doing.
Boom! Let's go!